The brain is like a parachute. It doesn't work very well if it's not open. And consequently, you need to look at where things came from. How did these things develop? We just don't have an America because it's been here forever. We had a beginning. So if you can go back to the beginning of this country, you can go back to the beginning of where religions began, concepts began, ideas and symbols. This is a very interesting subject. And
would you consider yourself to be religious?
No, I don't think so. I would consider myself to be spiritual, and I'm not sure how I would explain that word. But when I say spiritual, I mean I have a concern for that which is other than physical. I believe that there are the overwhelmingly important things in the spirit that are equally as important as in the physical.
So
respect for other people, respect for creation, for animals, for plants, for the earth itself. So for lack of a better term, I would say spiritual. And yes, I feel I am a spiritual person.
So that could mean possibly the enhancement of you as a spiritual being.
Right. An individual, yes.
How about you, Bill? Are you religious?
I certainly thought, no, I'm not religious in terms of formal religions, but I am concerned about the involvement of the spirit. And I do believe, and I think it's been well taught throughout all of the societies we have here, and everything that we can find out, that reincarnation is a part of life. And this is part of a learning process.
Reincarnation is a part of life?
Part of your spiritual life.
And have you had experience with that yourself?
Well, I suppose I have. I don't have any memory of it at all. But
do you entertain that as a hard belief, or just something on which your mind is open?
Well, my mind is very open on it, but I've seen some very interesting things happen, and some very deep research that's been done on this that can only be explained in other ways. I bring to mind a 21-year-old girl this is about 10 or 12 years ago, who ended up on the battleship, the Arizona, in Pearl Harbor with a group of people along with their teacher, who was from Phoenix. And all at once she started feeling the effects of as if she were there at the attack of Pearl Harbor. He was a hypnotist, among other things, took her back to Arizona, worked at the University of Arizona, and regressed her, and she started speaking as Seaman John Gillespie, a 19-year-old or 17-year-old kid back in 1938. Told the story of where they lived, everything about it. She even spoke in this very strange kind of way they speak east of Omaha, Nebraska, just a little small area. How he tried to get into the Army, he was too young, so then he lied and got into the Navy. He needed to help. Father didn't have any money, got into the Navy. He could send money home. Told about it his life in the Navy, his life down in Long Beach, and the investigators down at Long Beach of the Sheriff's Department in San Diego County went and found some of these places that she so aptly described that had long been torn down. Life at Bremerton and Washington, some of those places were gone, but that existed. The trip into Pearl Harbor, she was aboard the USS Nevada, where the Nevada parked. Now, this girl had never been out of Phoenix, she wouldn't know any of these things. And then described the attack on the Arizona, the first thing, because it was parked next to her, how they tried to pull the Nevada out and get it out of the harbor, and how they then decided to beach it otherwise because it could stop the harbor, and how it was hit, and how he died, as far as that goes. And he gave all of the names of the crew members on the Nevada, and it then took the Secretary of Navy then and a couple of congressmen from Arizona to open up the sealed records of the Nevada. No one knew that guest roster. And there they all were.
Wow.
With the exception of Seaman John Gillespie.
Have you lived before, Steve?
I don't such information, but it's nice to be back if I did.
Yeah.
I am on the side of the strong doubters about that. But on the other hand, we should always be available to consider evidence. Simply because we approach it warily, that doesn't mean a damn.
Right.
That's a very convincing story. One would want to not base a firm belief for the rest of one's life on having just heard your fascinating account, but one would like to know more and study.
Well, that has been quite documented. Frank Baranowski is the guy at the University of Arizona, and he deals with that.
Sure.
Right on.
I've heard many situations, and I must confess to you, I've had my own experience too. And I feel that it's really, with things of the spiritual nature and things beyond the mind and beyond the physical gross matter, third dimension, that is available to each and every one of us. I feel that you have to have an open heart and open mind for sure.
True.
But you have to be, it's like the Peter Pan syndrome, I call it. You have to believe before you can fly. And it's that type of thing that it's an innate situation, just like I believe I can play this piano, I believe I can write this book, I believe I can do this. You have to believe it, and then all of a sudden you are open to the possibility.
Well, there's a possibility that these experiences in previous lives are shaping the way you are now.
Yes.
Under hypnosis, we find people that can speak perfect languages, foreign languages they couldn't speak, and some of them are speaking ancient languages.
Exactly.
That it takes very specialized teachers to understand what they are.
Something I would say also, Bill, in relation to what you brought out before about the ancients and then this subject too, the material you brought up about the ancient Sumerians is a part of the ancient cuneiform record, so it's not as if I would say that these things actually happened because I wasn't there.
No, you
But the
couldn't.
mere fact that it is in the cuneiform writings, it is in the ancient writings, and like you said, were they science fiction writers or were they just telling us something that they knew? And of course, it's always possible because reincarnation has been around since the beginning of man. The concept, I should say. The concept of the idea has been around. I think that it's a natural concept for humans to think about because, is it possible that this life is all there is? Could it be that we come back? And so I can see how this idea would come about. And I haven't still, made a decision yet one way or the other. I tend to think that there might be something to it because there have been an awful lot of interesting stories that have no other explanation. So I appreciate what you're saying.
I got to just share something right here because I'm excited about that you folks are talking about this. One little thing, now this is something to try at home, is breath. And it's a quick breath called fire breath. And you just sit there when you're very comfortable and you breathe really quickly like that for as long as you can with the idea of just watch yourself and what happens. And if anything that you imagine, imagination I always call a great tool of God, the state of images, anything that you imagine is the open door to a possibility of an experience that could change your life, change your consciousness.
I know that there is the concept of peak experience, and I'm sure all of us have had peak experiences, I have, where you get a brilliant insight for a moment into something. I mean, I think this is all humans are able to do this. I don't put down the idea of any of these spiritual, other than, for a better term, spiritual. I think that there is something more to the world that we live in than the mundane that we...
Right, and I think the
I
reason...
don't know exactly what it is all the time, but
Right.
I do believe it's there.
And I think the reason that we're talking about it now, it's part of the agenda of the withheld information, because if that was true, that we did live before, that we could have experiences like this to promote self-sovereignty and self-containment, that our salvation was with ourselves as opposed to an outside source.
Why does possibility A lead to conclusion B? I'm not arguing.
I understand.
I don't understand. What if any one of us did live in a little fishing village in Italy in 1406? So what? To put it very simply.
What that would mean,
Experience, that's all.
and what that would mean is that you are possibly immortal, and that the body dies for sure, or maybe not, but there's possibility of immortality there, and if that's the case, control is out of the question.
This is a very good point, because from the church's point of view, if everybody had the idea then that they were immortal and they could go on and become some other things, they're not too interested in what the good Father has to say to them about the spiritual life.
Exactly. And if your salvation isn't somebody outside yourself, another entity, another being, but it's something that you do with your own life, and what you uncover, and the truth that you uncover, because the truth will set you free.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
This is the end for you, my master.